So let's talk inheritance. Inheritance in biology comes down to two primary ideas. How is the information stored in order to construct individual organisms? And how is that information then passed on? What is the form that it's in, and how is it passed on to subsequent generations? When we're talking about inheritance for biology, for living organisms, at least on the planet Earth, we're talking about the contents of our DNA. DNA is present in every single cell in your body. It is the recipe to construct you. Every cell contains the DNA to construct everything the body needs. That is a lot of DNA wrapped up tight in the famous double helix structure in every single cell of your body, including the neuron, which we'll be talking a lot about in this class. In order to keep all of that DNA stored in your cells, in the nucleus, that double helix structure is wrapped tightly around what are called histones, stone-like proteins that act as sort of an anchor point for the DNA to wrap and wrap and wrap itself around. Those histones, in turn, then fold against each other, and they wrap into tighter and tighter bundles, with more and more histones being packed in, and ultimately, in its most compact form, it forms what is called a chromosome. And a chromosome contains a huge amount of DNA, a huge amount of your genes, wrapped super tight around those histones, which are wrapped around each other in these tightly compacted units. By creating multiple packages, multiple chromosomes, your cells can hold a tremendous amount of DNA in very small space. The chromosome is really important in understanding inheritance and passing down biological information. To understand the importance of the chromosome, we're looking right now at an Amazon warehouse. When you order something on Amazon, the packages are held within these fulfillment centers, packed to the brim of giant warehouses of every product known to man. The warehouses are automated to a large extent, with these cute little robots pushing shelves back and forth around the warehouse to allow workers to pull products and prepare them for packaging. How are the robots going to know which shelf needs to be pulled when you order a product? The robot has no way of looking at the shelf, seeing the products, but somehow it magically knows that that's the shelf where your product is. I think if you stop and think about it, the answer is pretty obvious, right? The robots know this because every single shelf and every single product has a specific relationship, right? Every item goes on a specific shelf on a specific rack. And those robots are able to pull the right shelf because the product is always on that shelf, which is always in that location in the warehouse. That is the only way these sort of automated systems can keep track of that information. There's a one-to-one relationship. You never wind up with one product on the wrong shelf or the whole system collapses. And that's exactly what's going on in the chromosomes. Since the chromosomes are so tightly compacted, we have to be able to unravel the histones to get to the DNA, which means that our cells have to know exactly where the gene is going to be, which means each chromosome always contains the same genes, and the same genes are always in the same location on the same chromosome everywhere in your body and in every single person. So ultimately, the chromosomes then are consistent across not just our cells, but every member of our species, and actually become the unit of inheritance. You don't inherit genes from your parents, rather you inherit chromosomes. You're looking at what's called a karyotype. Karyotype is a breakdown of all of the specific chromosomes in an organism. In fact, what we're looking at here is the human karyotype. Each unique chromosome is given a name, in this case, such unique names as scientists are wont to give, such as chromosome 1, chromosome 2, chromosome 3, chromosome 4, chromosome 5. Okay, I think you get the idea, right? In fact, we have chromosomes 1 through 22, and then the X chromosome and the Y chromosome, which are different, kinda. I mean, they're still chromosomes, but we'll talk about those in a little bit. Okay, so this is all of our chromosomes. That means that we have 23 unique chromosomes. However, we have 2 copies of each chromosome. So how many chromosomes do we have total? Well, that'd be 23 unique chromosomes times 2, or 46. So human beings have 46 chromosomes, 23 unique. Why do we have 2 copies of each chromosome? Well, remember what we just said. Chromosomes are the unit of inheritance. You got 1 chromosome in the unique set from mom and 1 chromosome in the unique set from dad. So you got 1 chromosome from mom and 1 chromosome 1 from dad, forming the 46 chromosomes. So by having 2 copies of each chromosome, you are what's called a diploid. You have 2 copies of each chromosome. The number of unique chromosomes is often referred to as N, so you are 2N or diploid. In order to reproduce, we have to create cells that contain only 1 set of those unique chromosomes. These are the egg and sperm. And the process by which we create those cells is called meiosis. And meiosis produces haploid cells that contain only 1 set of chromosomes. When the 2 haploid cells meet, when the sperm meets the egg, fertilization can occur. When fertilization can occur, we now have a new diploid organism that contains 1 set of chromosomes from the egg and 1 set from the sperm, and is now a new diploid. This diploid is a unique combination of genes, hitherto unseen, forms the zygote that will eventually develop into the baby. We often talk about something called the universal human genome. It underlies such projects as the Human Genome Project, which attempts to map every single gene in the human body into a database that is searchable. But we're left with a question, well, what is the universal human genome? Is it my DNA, your DNA, an average of everybody's DNA? Well, really, it's a single person's DNA. So why can we call that the universal human genome? Well, it turns out that our DNA is pretty much identical. There is very little difference in the DNA between any of us. In fact, a 0.001% difference is enough to differentiate everybody on this planet. In fact, there's a 0.001% difference in DNA that determines whether the envelope Maury Povich opens says you are the father or you are not the father. Our DNA is very, very similar. In fact, there's probably less than 2% difference in the DNA between human beings and chimps. And one of my personal favorite, there is actually less than 50% difference. You have half of your genes in common with the banana. Think about that the next time you want to drop it in your cereal. All of which to say is small differences in our DNA, small changes in the nucleotides within our genetic material can lead to some big differences. We're going to explore how some of those differences can appear across the species and how they work with inheritance as part of the next video.